Okay, this is a 3-week tournament. It's more than 2 weeks for us traveling around North America and the Caribbean islands. Right now, we are technically in South America and has to be one of the most brutal cricket tours that Vikrant and I have covered. Do you agree with that?
Well, I do. I was just checking up on my passport and I got stamps in 4 different countries in the last 24 hours.
Name them. Starting with
Antigua. We were in
woke up.
Antigua. We woke up in Antigua. The flight to St. Lucia got cancelled. So we were sent to Dominica, country number 2. So we stayed there in Dominica for a day and a night. Beautiful country. And then woke up the next morning, early morning, wherein we had a flight to St. Lucia. Third country, St. Lucia, we did the game.
Few hours, just
And
few
did the
hours.
game of Australia.
India, Australia, yeah.
I mean, bajao the Australian game as well, na?
Yeah.
And then from St. Lucia, we flew in the evening to Guyana. So technically within 2 days, we had 4 different countries. We've done 4 different countries.
The one
And 2
thing-
different continents, by the way.
Yeah.
That technically, Caribbean technically is North America and this is South America.
Yeah, basically, why we say one of the most brutal trips because we've reached the stage now where I reach the immigration, and when they ask me where you're coming from, I forget which country and which country you're going to. I forget because every few hours we're moving. But why we say it's so brutal because traveling around the Caribbean islands is very tough. The connectivity isn't easy. The flights between islands isn't easy. They have very small aircrafts running. Also because there won't be too much traffic, right? These are islands which each of them are countries with a population of somewhere 30,000, 40,000, somewhere 60, somewhere 70,000 people. You can imagine that the travel between islands is going to be very less. The small aircrafts, you suddenly have the Cricket World Cup here, and that increases tenfolds because Indian fans traveling from the US are coming, journalists are traveling, teams are traveling, logistic people are traveling, and that, I think, the infrastructure in the Caribbean
But it
hasn't
is
been able to
actually an
handle.
antithesis of what it was. We came here the first time in 2006, also came here in the 2007 World Cup. I mean, you had various flights from one island to another, and there was one airline which is called Liat, L-E-I-A-T.
LIAT.
Liat. Now, Liat was an airline, a Caribbean airline, and many people would refer to Liat as luggage in another town. I mean, you would reach one island and the luggage would go to another. And sadly, that airline just shut.
That airline is shut, but luggage in another town does happen in the Caribbean.
It is still
We know-
relevant.
We know a lot of people whose luggage
Thankfully,
haven't come.
it hasn't happened with
I
us.
was just going to say that. We came here prepared, and I don't think we should speak so soon because we still have a leg
The
left.
most difficult flight to take.
Yeah, so luckily, fingers crossed, we haven't had our luggage misplaced, but we came across a few fans whose luggage had been misplaced. So they actually left because they were also island hopping. So they would say, okay, fine, now I'm only here for one day, so don't send it here, send it to the next island, things like that. Ravi Shastri, the former India player, former coach, his luggage did not arrive in time. He put out a social media post as well. So that hasn't changed, but airlines have reduced. Having said that, it's not doom and gloom. In fact, Guyana, you've come here before in 2007. It was always a third world country, but now
a
it
typical
is
South American country.
now it is the fastest growing economy in the world. How did that happen?
It grew 63% last year.
Wow.
And the year before that, they're saying it actually grew 100%. So imagine what could happen over the next 5 years. Now people would say, in India, we get excited when the GDP growth is 6%, 7%, 8%. Obviously, it also depends on the base that the country has. If your base is this much and you grow 3%, that could also be a good sign. If your base is this much, you grow 8%, it is still okay. The base for Guyana wasn't quite a lot, and when it grew 100% and 63%, it has come to a stage where now it is one of the fastest growing economies in the Caribbean, in
world.
these 2 continents, and also in the world. So what happened?
They found oil.
That's it.
The magic word,
Yeah.
oil.
They found oil, and the Americans then took over.
Yeah. I mean, the firm, obviously,
Yeah.
the refineries and all, because they wouldn't have the expertise. So the American refineries have taken over. And now it's going to be a rich country. So what you see here now is a lot of construction. So, you
The
suddenly
Chinese have
have
also taken over, by the way.
fancy malls. Can we quickly show them? We are at a fancy mall right now. There's Starbucks. There's every other, big food chain from America that you can see here. That may not have been there a few years ago.
I'll just give you
tell
an
us
example.
2007.
Yes.
Yeah.
You see that hotel behind me? That was the only so-called 4-star, 5-star hotel in
Not even
2007.
Can't
No,
be.
it is not even 3.
Ah.
So it was built especially for the World Cup in 2007. So they built this hotel, and the ground is right next to the hotel.
We
which
can
is-
show them.
So
This is the cricket
not
ground.
100 meters.
Right there. Providence, Guyana.
See, and then they built this hotel. I remember staying here along with the teams. One of the teams expected to play here and stay here was India, but India got knocked out. So we stayed here with the Bangladesh team. There was no other 5-star hotels. And now, while we were searching for hotels in Guyana, I was shocked to find out the way wealth is being created in this country. They built some 7, 8 5-star hotels. There are more coming up. And while we were walking down this place, there was construction everywhere. There's this bridge, which is like a dream. If you, we'll soon be on the bridge. We'll show that story to the viewers as well. So it is like being in South America. While you are landing at the Georgetown airport, you would see the rainforests while landing. We landed overnight, so we couldn't see that, but I saw that in 2007. But then again, Nikhil, there's this Indian touch in this country, and has always been. More than Indian, I would say the Bhojpuri connect. People in India would be surprised to know that almost every person in Guyana, would have his phone caller tune on some Bhojpuri song or the other.
50%.
There are temples. There are temples. The place we are staying, there are 2 Lord Shiv temples barely 20 meters away.
In fact, we've just walked 15 minutes from our hotel. We've already seen 4 temples in that much time. So, half the population here is of Indian origin. The people who came to work on plantations.
This was
many,
1840s.
Yeah.
So people from Bhojpuri, from Bihar, from
yeah.
UP, those days, they were flown in. They did sugarcane farming. Not just Guyana. This happened in Trinidad, this happened in St. Kitts, happened in most of the other Caribbean islands as well. But then the Bhojpuri population, they made Guyana their home.
Do you remember when we were walking just now, there was a restaurant. What song was playing?
That was a Hindi song.
I'll tell you the song. Mera Piya Ghar Aaya.
Mera Piya Ghar Aaya. Maybe
That was playing.
they were referring to a certain Mr. Nikhil Nas. And most of the cricketers who played for the West Indies, legendary cricketers, Rohan Kanhai, Indian origin, Alvin Kalicharan, Indian origin, Shiv Narayan Chandrapal, Indian origin, Ram Ramesh Sarwan, Indian origin, and most of them, their ancestors do come from Bihar and Uttar
UP,
Pradesh.
yeah. Because they've lost a bit of touch though, because when they came by ships,
They listened
the
to
British
Bhojpuri songs only,
got them.
and the Hindi
They
songs.
got their culture, but then they lost touch. Remember those days they could not write mail or get connected. So over 3-4 generation, they actually lost touch with their relatives there. So now they don't have any, connect there. But that culture thrives. It continues. That Bhojpuri culture. Okay. Anyway, because we're here for the Cricket World Cup, 2 things we want to touch upon. One, of course, we'll talk about the Indian team, but before that, the story of this World Cup is Afghanistan team, and what a story it is. First time making it to the semi-final. Many thought that they had an outside chance, but what they're proving is that those upsets that they've had, beating the Australian team, beating
Which
Bangladesh.
I think was poetic justice.
Yeah.
Because Australia, I've been refusing to play them. Australia feel that the Afghans, they violate human rights, and they've refused to play them a number of times.
Yeah.
They've called off tours, they've called off Afghanistan coming to Australia as well, and they beat them.
Yeah.
They beat them, and then they beat Bangladesh, and Australia have been knocked out.
So, and look at where they come from. It's a war-torn country, as you know, no facilities. They actually play in India. BCCI provides them with ground because no country would come and tour them. They've got coaches from all across the world helping them. What really helps their players are playing T20 cricket around the world. All that experience and I think the Jazba and the Josh that team, that Afghanistan team shows, absolutely outstanding. That's the story of this World Cup. No facilities back home, but they're beating the best.
And as soon as next month, which is July, the Afghans would be hosting Bangladesh in India.
Wow.
In Greater Noida, they'll be hosting a series against Bangladesh. Nikhil, it's just started raining.
Let's quickly talk about the Indian team. Are they winning the World Cup? That's the big question.
They can, and they must. And every World Cup that we go to, Nikhil, we do start with the fact that India are one of the favorites. They can do this, and I have always felt, especially in the last 4-5 years, that we were behind the curve in T20s. I don't think India were the strong favorites coming into this T20 World Cup, but since West Indies have been knocked out, since Australia have been knocked out, and England barely made it to the semi-finals, and with the conditions here which are slowish, the pitches here are slowish in nature, does suit the Indian players more. I really do feel now that India can win the World Cup, but Nikhil, again, the story always shifts from this stage onwards. I mean, India does do well in the group stages. They do well in the stages right up till the knockouts, and then boom in the semi-finals. And this semi-final is a repeat of the 2020 World Cup T20 semi-final.
Yeah. I'll also like to reserve my comments because firstly, it's a T20 format. No upsets there. Top 4 teams have reached. Any game that India plays, even though they look very good, will be a 50-50 game. So from here on, no team starts as a favorite. So I think India has as much a chance of winning this World Cup as a South Africa does at this stage, as England does, or even now, even an Afghanistan does. So if you were to look at math, 25% chance, but I'll take any chance at the moment. But all I like is, and why I see that as a positive, previous occasions you faltered at the knockout stage because of fear of failure. This time I can see the team playing fearless cricket. I think that augurs well. You could still lose, but I think the approach is good. Who knows what happens?
Don't say they could still lose. Again, that adds to the
to
pressure.
Be prepared for the worst.
See, let me be honest, and I think maybe partly we are also to be blamed for this. But the fact is, we do raise expectations, and not just the media. It is the fans as well.
I played it down.
But Nikhil,
no raising expectations.
God forbid, if India do lose in the semi-finals, this World Cup will not be called a success.
Absolutely.
It'll again be termed as a failure. Remember the 50 over, the main World Cup that you had last year in India, where India lost in the finals. And people do call it as a failure rather than, okay, the glass is more than half full, you made it to the finals. With a team like India now, in modern day cricket, you are expected to win a title. And, while we won the Champions Trophy in 2013, but Champions Trophy is not a World Cup. So the last World Cup India won was 2011. And remember, in this format, in the T20s, the only time India has won was 17 years ago. So I would expect India to do well. It's just that, Virat Kohli, for example, is not firing. Maybe this is the time for him.
Yeah.
People remember 1983 when India won the World Cup. Mohindra Amarnath was outstanding in the semi-finals and the finals. So he became your MVP. You never know. This is a semi-final, and if India make it to the finals, maybe it could be Virat's day. But then I think one good thing that we've seen is in this tournament with the Indian team so far is that the bowling has been good. Batting again, not so good in the initial games, but the pitches weren't very good in the US leg. You came to the West Indies, to the Caribbean, and Rohit started to get runs. Virat also decently well. But the last inning that Rohit has played, the captain has actually walked the talk.
Okay, on that note, I think we've gone on for too long, spoken too much. You guys take care.
Yes. And maybe if you want another video loading, that can only happen
if they give us their love, like the video, share it.
And India win the semi-final and make it to the finals. So we promise another video from Barbados if India play in the finals, and if India win, another video.
So for that, continue to subscribe to India Today Global.
Please do that.
Do that.
Right away.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.